Please welcome to the stage Corporate Vice President, Microsoft Azure, Julia White.
Morning. Good morning, I guess heading into afternoon. Thank you so much for being here now as well as through the next couple of days, really digging in and hopefully creating some new perspective and some great new skills to put into action as you head back to your workplaces. Now I get the opportunity to travel all over the world and work with customers all over the globe, and I have to say, Australia and Sydney specifically has been one of those markets that from the very beginning has been such a fantastic adopter of technology and really leaning into what the cloud can do. And so it's one of my favorite places to come and talk about what's happening around the cloud and the trends there. So that's what we're going to do for the next little while. Now, as a technologist, having spent more time in commercial cloud than maybe anyone on the planet, it's such an incredible opportunity. And I think the technologies that are coming to market, those things listed, but so many more are really underpinned in the speed because of the cloud delivery model. And as technologists taking advantage of it, I just think there's no better time than now to see what's possible from serverless to IoT and now quantum and that next frontier as well. So unbelievable opportunity. But the other interesting thing that comes with this kind of pace and this kind of technology advancement is what does it mean to each individual? And what does it mean to us as technologists kind of grappling with this? And as I work with customers again across the globe and listen and hear things of like, gosh, it's so much happening, so much going on, and frankly, it's a little overwhelming. And I'm supposed to be an expert. My business group comes to me and developers and ITs, and I'm supposed to know exactly what serverless is and how I should think about quantum next. And the reality is we're all in this together, and this journey is moving fast. And that's kind of part of our job at Microsoft and Azure, making sure this is something that we can all be successful with, making sure you're able to keep up with security, obviously top of mind, and also thinking about how you take advantage of it from a business growth perspective, not just a technology perspective. And that's really how we think about how we're building Azure, is about there's great technology and we're staying on the cutting edge, but making sure that we deliver it in a way that helps you be successful and not be overwhelmed and stay secure in how you do that. And certainly delivering great cloud technology is at the core of that, absolutely. But to me, it's really about how we deliver that you can be successful is the most important aspect. And so I want to spend a little time talking about that, how we're delivering cloud, how we're helping you, not just what we're doing. Of course, we'll show you some great tech too. But in terms of how, it's really about making sure you can be as productive as possible, right? It's how much time can we take out of having to learn about these new technologies, put together your own tools, just bring that together for you. Making sure that you can tap into hybrid such that you can look at your existing systems not as this old legacy and tax, but actually as an asset that brings you forward in a cloud in a better and differentiated way. And then certainly tapping into data and the frontier of AI is absolutely here. And I'm thrilled to see the real life use cases of AI in practical business applications. Even just so much has happened in the 12 months of that. And we'll show you some of the things happening there too. And then, can't be understated is around trust. How important that is, and the fundamental promise between the cloud and what you're doing and the trust of that relationship. So let's spend a little bit of time kind of drilling into each one of these areas and what it means, and then show you some of that as well. So first, starting with productive, right? The productivity of you, your organization. We know that some of the most finite resources are the people, and so how do we make sure everyone's getting the most out of what they're doing in the cloud? So Azure, of course, we have great tooling, we have platform services, we have infrastructure. That's absolutely true. Hundreds of services. We're continuing to innovate and add more and update those. And that's the core, and that's super important. But again, it takes more than just great technology delivery. It's ensuring that there's integrated tooling from a development perspective, so you can start building your apps right away versus having to figure it out and put that together. And making sure from a management perspective, you can deploy it and have the control and a security around it as well as soon as that technology comes out. And putting that in a way that every customer I've met with this week, I've been here since Sunday, meeting the customers in DevOps and moving to that agile model is top of mind. So making sure that tooling enables that and there's nothing getting in the way. So first of all, starting with a little bit of our services. Man, if you haven't seen Azure in a year or so, lots happened. Continuing to innovate, continuing to release, which is great in terms of being able to bring new technology to market. My past life, I ran Exchange Server many years ago, and I used to go meet with customers, and they'd say, hey, I really need this new feature in Exchange Server. I'd say, that's great. We're about 2 years from shipping a server, and then in 4 years, you'll deploy it. So in 6 years, you'll have that. It'll be fantastic. And, a little bit underwhelming for all of us in that game, right? Well, now, you can meet with folks here and say, they're like, I really need you to move up IoT services, I need more here. I can literally go back to Redmond and we can reprioritize our next semester push and we can pull that in. And so it's that agility and that listening that allows us to do what we're doing from a cloud place and deliver to you what you need. So things like serverless with Azure Functions. Talked to a lot of customers moving into serverless architectures, which is great to see. We definitely think that is a future architecture state. Logic's happening, integrating with what you have. We don't look at legacy and existing systems as a tax. We see it as an asset. So creating services like Logic Apps to be able to integrate with that very, very quickly. And then, of course, I hope you spend some time in the next few days getting smart on containers. That is very topical. We definitely pushed hard in Kubernetes. We believe that is where the market is really betting, and with our managed Kubernetes service. And actually, we've have at Microsoft the founder of the Kubernetes project, and so very much front and center in our development in that area. So I encourage you to get smarter on that if you're not already pretty familiar. But again, beyond just those services, with everything we've done, we've taken kind of our history and our knowledge around developer tooling and bringing that to the fore. So as we brought out Azure Functions, we brought out tooling with it. So you didn't have to figure out tooling for serverless. It came with that, so you could build applications very quickly. But of course, also, we want to make sure you can work with whatever tools you prefer, and so continuing to have a very robust ecosystem of developer tools from whatever source that you prefer. Those are your, I think of it, developers are artists, and those are your paintbrushes. Make sure you can choose the one you want. And then really helping around DevOps, right? Going to the cloud and just doing the exact thing you've done on premises isn't really tapping into the advantage you can get and helping push from a people, a process, and a tools perspective with our integrated Visual Studio Team services, DevOps toolkit right there as part of our cloud delivery. So kind of making that all part of it. Now that sounds great, but I actually wanted to show a video of UPS, who's really taken advantage of our mobile dev kits, Xamarin, company we acquired, now just part of our Visual Studio family, and these incredible mobile dev capabilities and what they've been able to do with that. So why don't we roll the UPS video?
A lot of people think of UPS as a packaging company. I see it as a technological company that also does logistics.
We have millions of mobile users using the native apps on each operating system. Visual Studio Tools for Xamarin allowed us to develop a single code base in C# and deploy an application to two completely different mobile phone ecosystems. Xamarin allows us to deliver customer features faster. We also use the .NET Core to manage our web service calls and our business logic that we have embedded inside the mobile application. C# has allowed us to decrease our code size by 64%.
UPS Bot's an automated virtual assistant that allows customers to interact with UPS using conversational interface. Customers that have Facebook Messenger can ask UPS Bot questions about their packages.
The bot framework gave us the ability to build on multiple channels. So if we built it once for Skype, and then we could automatically extend that to things like Facebook. With Lewis, we were able to train our bot to understand natural language without having to code. We're running the bot as a service in Azure, and we adopted application insights, which is giving us those analytics and tracking intents so that we can implement additional functionality in the future. Azure gives us the ability to scale up and out automatically. The pace at which technology is moving is really exciting, and the possibilities are endless.
Just one example of the efficiency you get and that productivity about having all the tooling, and even the tooling for AI services, as you saw, right built into the platform. Now, switching from the kind of building applications into running them and managing the infrastructure. The other area we had a lot of focus on and just actually released a bunch of new capabilities in the past 3 months, so a lot new here, is around having end-to-end management. And that's true of all your infrastructure sitting in Azure, but now extending into your on-premises and hybrid environment as well, which we'll talk more about in a second. But that's true of having a single place to do your operations management, your security management and threat detection, and then into global policy. So having those controls of making sure that the VM types you spin up have the right security policies and sizing and functionality so that you can have those both the visibility and control over what's being spun up in your environment. And really essential to be able to have that confidence in running efficiently your cloud environment in that area. Now, to kind of also extend from there certainly is part of the productive experience is being able to choose and have that flexibility. And we know organizations are heterogeneous, and we want to support all of that. And sometimes people will think of Microsoft as, not open and not well, that's really our past, and that's not at all true of who we are today. It was actually a year ago that GitHub listed the biggest contributors to open source projects in GitHub, and for that year it was Microsoft. It was just a year ago, our #1 open source project contributor. And that just shows us not just about us supporting open source in a world-class way, but also participating in the community in a way that the industry's never seen before. So a huge, huge focus, and we'll continue to do more here. And I know our local partnership here with Red Hat's a fantastic one. So if you're a RHEL or OpenShift customer, we're interested in talking on that area. Now, putting all that together, and I wanted to show you what some of the management and IT experiences look like in Azure. So to do that, I'm going to ask Ben Walters to come up and show us what that experience looks like from creating the VM to scaling it and managing it from that area. So welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, so I want to take some time this morning to show you how you can make the most of Azure, be productive, and make the most of the management and also the analytics features that we have within Azure and the Azure portal today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off, first of all, by bringing up there it is, bringing up the Azure portal. And this is the Azure portal you all know and love. But you'll also notice that down the bottom, we have a new PowerShell module available right here in the browser. This allows me to take advantage of all of those things I love to do in scripting, no matter where I am, no matter what platform I'm on. I can even run this from my phone if I need to, so I can access everything I need to from my Azure portal right here in a very easy-to-do fashion. Now, what this does is it speeds up the process for doing those tasks that we do every day, things like creating new VMs. I no longer need to click through all of those steps and phases to create new resources. I can come into here and simply type new AZVM, give that a name. You know what, in this case, just to speed things up, I'm going to put the what if command on the end as well. And I can go ahead and spin up a new VM just like that. I'll get asked for a username. Of course, we always want to be the admin. And I can give that a password. And then what will happen is Azure will actually go off and create that VM for me. And this is all using the power of PowerShell, being able to interact with my environment. Now, this is great because it means I can speed up the things I'm doing and be more effective with the tools I know how to use today. Now, of course, creating VMs is one thing, and we have a whole range of VMs that you can create today. In fact, I've got one of our biggest VMs available today, our new M-Series VM. This here is a machine running 128 logical cores with 2 terabytes of memory. This is a huge machine, something great for running SAP HANA, big instances of SQL, or as I am in my case, I'm taking advantage of the nested virtualization capability that we have within Azure to be able to run Hyper-V inside my Azure VM. So you can see here I have my Linux and I have another Windows machine running here as well. And the beauty is that I can continue to nest this virtualization as far as I need to. So as I click into that, you can see I've got another machine here and I've got yet another VM running inside my VM. So I have one Hyper-V VM. Yeah, go ahead, please. Feel free to clap. I've got one Hyper-V VM running inside another Hyper-V VM, running inside an Azure VM. So it's a great way for me to be able to virtualize my infrastructure, again, with the tools I know and love and have familiarity with. Now, of course, once I have all of those machines set up, the question becomes, how do I manage it? How do I know that all my machines are being controlled and kept up to date as I need to? So this here is that M-Series VM I just logged into and showed you. And as I scroll down into my blade here, you can see we've got, under the Operations tab, new options that I can start to take advantage of. I can take advantage of disaster recovery in the cloud, replicate my VMs to other locations so that failover is quick and easy. I can test that failover. I can manage the inventory and software on those machines or track changes so I know what's actually happening on that machine. Or in this instance, I can hit Update Management. We'll flick over here, and I can see at a glance what updates have actually been run on that machine. I know what critical updates have been run, what ones haven't. Now, this is great for a single machine, but honestly, I have an entire infrastructure that I need to manage. So I can actually level up and manage multiple computers. And you'll see if I go over to that, I can actually see everything across my infrastructure in one single pane of glass. I can see I have a lot of machines that are non-compliant at the moment, but you can see I've got both my Linux machines, my Windows machines, even things that I have running on premises are available for me to see right here in this single portal, in this single pane of glass. I can see exactly what updates are missing across Linux and Windows. I can schedule update deployments, know which ones succeeded, which ones didn't. I can also go and say, you know what, I want to schedule those for when we're planning downtime for those servers so that I can push those through at a time that's appropriate for me, that makes sense and isn't going to impact my business. So just great ways for me to be able to do all this in a simple and easy fashion in a single place. Now, of course, once I have all these machines, my updates are running, there are always times when we need to troubleshoot what's going on or get a little bit more insight into those machines. And so with log analytics, I can actually start to get an overview of what's happening on my servers, but I can delve a little deeper as well. These here are just some high-level graphs to show me what's happening. But if I click on analytics and come over here, I can actually start to write scripts and take advantage of those logs that are sitting on my machines and really start to drill into those. I have a script here that'll actually give me the average processor time across all those machines in my environment. And so I can go ahead and click go, and this is going to query millions of records of information to give me a time chart showing me what's going on with my machines over time. And I can start to come into here and analyze where I have spikes on those machines. I can then start to correlate that with other logs like my IIS logs and see what's happening on those machines and at what time, giving me great insight to be able to control and manage both my on-premises and also my Azure environment. So with that, I'd like to hand back to Julia.
Thank you, Ben. Fantastic. Obviously, it's just the beginning of what's possible from a management perspective, but a lot of opportunity there. All right, so moving from kind of productive, now let's talk about hybrid, which is maybe one of the hottest topics I get asked about in terms of cloud right now, of what is hybrid, who's going to hybrid, multi-cloud. So let's talk about this for a minute, because there's a lot of different conversations and different perspectives about hybrid. And Microsoft is a very unique one that is very different. So I want to take a minute to make sure it's clear. And then we think about hybrid, really about the combination of what you have existing in your data center, your current infrastructure, whether that you're running that or someone else's in a private cloud, and using that in concert with public cloud, with Azure. And we believe that this isn't just a transitory state that ultimately everything is going to go to the cloud and sit there forever, but really taking advantage of your existing infrastructure in a smart way and using the cloud in a way as well that brings that together. And so what we've built is a way to think about that environment, that hybrid environment, as a single environment. Not think about it as two things, like, hey, I have one system here, one system there, two different security, two different management systems, two different data systems. That just isn't very efficient, and it's not particularly secure way to do it. And so what we've tried to build end-to-end is have this comprehensive hybrid model that is also consistent. From a directory perspective, and identity management and security, having that Active Directory and Azure Active Directory, so you have a consistent sign-on experience across. From a platform, something we've done very uniquely with Azure is actually create Azure Stack, which can run local, the same capabilities, and I'll show you that in a second. And then from data particularly is something that we think will continue to live on the edge and stay there and have compute match it. So making sure that data can move fluidly and without lots of changes and app impact to be able to do that. And then ultimately, to what Ben showed you, having that visibility from a management and security perspective across, not just in the cloud, not just on premises, but one place to look at it holistically. A huge area of investment. And I think different than other vendors in the market right now who are saying, hey, it's just a matter of time, everything goes to the cloud. Because hybrid, what we're talking about now of on-premises and public cloud, we will believe evolve to what we talk about in our company's worldview of the intelligent cloud and intelligent edge. And the kind of hybrid V2 is about having this robust edge that's doing both data collection and processing at the edge and connecting and using the cloud. And that will be where we evolve to. And I think Azure Stack maybe is the best example of that. So let's take a second of exactly what Azure Stack is. So what we've done with Azure Stack is literally take the code of Azure, our public cloud, and enable it to run on a small footprint and a server in your data center, or a service provider can serve it for you. And it's opening up all new use cases. And to me, it's about unlocking that cloud-first strategy in a new way. And so what we see customers doing with this new capability is these three common scenarios. First is enabling a cloud-first model in a place where you might have a remote location or disconnected scenario, a factory floor, a cruise ship, an oil rig, those type of things where bandwidth might be limited, but now you can still have that shared single application running in a local instantiation. And then maybe the most common scenario is a regulatory one, of being able to literally have one application, but in certain industries and certain locations, run it locally to meet that regulatory compliance. And then things like you want to connect to your mainframe and have a new modern front end or a cloud-first approach to that, but you need to have data close enough to your mainframe so you can run Azure Stack there to be able to enable that from a technology perspective. And an example of that, getting that regulatory one, is EY. So they run their global auditing system in Azure and the public cloud, but in certain geographies, in this case Russia, they need to comply with local law. So they're able to take that same application and run it consistently in Azure Stack, not build a different one, not have a second system, but run it there in Russia and meet those regulations with Azure Stack. So allowing you to have the efficiency of the same APIs, same app model, same services, both PaaS and IaaS services in a local instantiation to meet that regulatory requirement. Let me show you what this looks like. Sometimes it helps. So just a few screenshots to give you a sense of it. So I talked about this cruise ship. That's a disconnected scenario. Cruise ships are out at sea. They don't always have bandwidth. And so Azure Stack's a great use case for that, of sitting on the ship, running that ship. So here in our Northwind traders, kind of a global fleet-wide management system running in Azure. Now they'd like to run that same system on the ship, and they use an Azure Stack for that. So if here in my Azure portal is the fleet-wide management system, I'm using a mixture of PaaS and IaaS services on this application. Now on the next slide here, this is Azure Stack. Let me go back. Looks familiar, huh? It's because it's the same, right? That's the point. And if I zoom in, you can see there on the top, it's Azure Stack. It is the same portal. It's the same functionality. It's not some different variant of it. It actually is the same code. And then if I zoom in, you see I'm using, in this case, serverless compute and Azure Functions. And you zoom in there. This is the PaaS services running in Azure Stack on that ship in a local instantiation. So you're getting the full benefit of those really efficient platform services despite being running on premises. And then I talked about our integrated tooling. Another great example. Here I'm in Visual Studio. I have my fleet-wide system running, and I can, at the point of deployment, literally just choose. Do I deploy it to Azure, or do I deploy it to Azure Stack? With the integration of identity, I can just pick between the two and push where I want it to. It's that simple. So it really is that really incredibly consistent hybrid cloud experience with Azure Stack. Now, this is an integrated system, a hardware unit that we're selling in partnership with our hardware providers, so you can get end-to-end integrated system. It continues to update and run just like Azure does, and available from these partners today and continuing to work with more over time. So neat opportunity to think about things differently. And also that future of that intelligent edge, and Azure Stack's a great example of what that can be. The other area I want to spend some time on is data from a hybrid perspective, because that's where so much cost and complexity can come into running a hybrid environment. And this is, again, where that investment we've made in terms of consistency and fluidity between on-premises and public cloud is really important. So we're having our SQL database on-premises, our migration services between that literally has no code changes, so you can move it back and forth on that front, and then run it in a managed instance in SQL. Incredibly efficient. And you have the choice to move based on the scenario you have and the location you're running it in. And so great investments in terms of trying to make hybrid cost-effective and durable versus just thinking about as a connection between your data center and our cloud. That's not hybrid in our book. So to talk about, on the data perspective specifically, DocuSign's a great example of that, of using a combination of on-premises and cloud and having the flexibility in their application to do so. So let's run the DocuSign video so you can hear from them about what they did.
Hundreds of millions of people are DocuSign customers every day, transacting their most important business. For so many of our customers, their transactions are personal. We garner our customers' trust every day. Trust is the sort of thing that you earn in a lifetime and lose in an instant. We process 1.1 million transactions per day on our platform. Our transaction volume approximately doubles every year. What that means for me is that we are constantly scaling and evolving. We wanted the best of what we do in our data center, which is reliable SQL servers on flash storage, with the best of what Azure could bring to it, which is globally expanding, rapid deployment, high scale, with the best of what the SQL team could bring to it, which is a deep knowledge of the product and help in managing this thing at scale. And for us, we found that Azure SQL Database was the best way to do it. We deploy our SQL Server schema elements into a managed instance, and we point the application via connection string change directly over to the managed instance.
We basically picked up our existing build infrastructure and we're able to deploy to Azure within a few seconds. It allows us to scale the business very quickly with very minimal effort.
The holy grail in a move like this is being able to lift your existing platform, move it into Azure without significant amounts of work, without having to re-engineer things. And at the other side of that, get the incredible value that Azure brings to the table. Our hope is that Azure becomes the way we do global expansion. We want to help customers all over the world bring their paper processes into the digital world, to allow us to be the accelerant that they need to move faster and faster into this digital transformation.
And certainly that ability to scale and that seamlessness is a core part of running an efficient hybrid solution. But also just to spend a second on the cost. And this is something we're seeing more and more frequently as we work with clients. And this is just one example of a very recent one in working with a large kind of Fortune 500 organization looking to move an existing infrastructure into Azure and into the cloud, and comparing what it would look like if you literally have to make adjustments to every single application in doing that versus having that consistency and being able to move it up, just like DocuSign spoke about, quickly without having to go and literally touch every single application. Massive cost savings. So something to encourage you to think about people tend to think about the cost in the cloud and on-prem versus what the transition looks like. And so an important consideration in that as well. Now, on the cost perspective, the other thing I want to make sure you know about from a hybrid perspective is that if you're today using Windows and SQL in addition to RHEL and other things in your environment, particularly for this area where we have licensing capability, we're also making sure that Azure customers benefit from saying, hey, you've bought your Windows and Server licenses from us. You can actually just run them in Azure as a benefit of that license. And so from a cost perspective, you're not having to buy a new license as you move to the cloud. You can just get credit, essentially, for your existing licenses, which has dramatic cost savings implications for those systems running on Windows and SQL. So it's just built into the portal now. You don't have to even know about it. You can just check the box that, yes, I'm an existing customer, and on you go with a much lower cost. So something I also encourage you to take advantage of as you think about in that cloud journey. All right, so a little bit about hybrid. Obviously, a very hot topic. And again, I encourage you to learn more about what we're able to do and think about what that is in your environment. So on to another very topical area, which is intelligence, and really the combination of data and AI together to kind of bring that out. So from where we sit in this world, in general, we're looking to fundamentally democratize AI. We don't think AI can or should be locked up to just the PhDs who understand how to do robust ML models, but really something that any developer, any organization can tap into. And actually, we'll show you in a minute what that looks like and how simple it can be. On the underpinnings of any AI system, of course, are robust data. So having that SQL state that we have is also just decades of experience in data management, warehousing, and creating data lakes. And then even into things like Azure Cosmos DB, which is our fully globally scalable database system. Incredible performance and capabilities there. And then on top of that is a robust set of AI services, APIs that you can write to, whether it be for facial recognition, sentiment analysis, language, translation, emotional assessment. Different capabilities you can build right into your application, not hard in terms of making that really come to life in terms of a real-world experience. So I want to give you one example of a kind of hyper-competitive area of retail. And so I'm working very closely with ASOS, who's a retailer out of the UK, full digital, no stores, a retailer without retail, I say. And what they did both from a data perspective, tapping into things like Cosmos DB, and then moving forward into overall AI capabilities. So why don't we roll the ASOS video?
ASOS wants to be the #1 fashion destination for 20-somethings around the world. Fashion is in our DNA. We have just over 12 million active customers, over 800 brands, and introducing about 4,000 to 5,000 new products onto the site every single week. We don't have shops. People know about ASOS from the internet. We have 1 minute when that digital platform is out. We're not serving our customers. We want to be there for our customers 24/7, 365 days of the year.
When you have 85,000 products in your product range, it's vital to have a personalized consumer experience. We took a couple of big decisions early. The first was to go microservice, and the second was to go Azure Platform as a Service. We're using advanced machine learning techniques to synthesize custom and product characteristics, to create data sets that will allow us to rank products' relevance in milliseconds. And what that will mean for our customers is if we're going to show products they might like, those will be more relevant, the experience will be more relevant. And clearly, this is all about maximizing the sales from the time that the consumer shops with us. We're using Cosmos DB because it allows us to distribute the data models to be near the services wherever in the world they're deployed. We like the immediate elasticity. We like very low latency for random reads. And Azure has delivered as a rock-solid platform to create an ever more compelling consumer experience.
both a great technology story, but also one of true digital transformation. So we have a lot of information literature around what ASOS has done. It's definitely a great example of innovating within a category in a really rapid way. So a good story if you're looking for one for your own organization as well. So to show you what some of this looks like in kind of a real world experience, again, I'm thrilled to see AI being put into kind of commercial ready kind of experiences. So I'm going to have Ben come back out and show what a kind of modern AI bot experience looks like as just one example of many. And this is actually an example of the way Microsoft is using our own technology for our customer service experience too. So Ben, go ahead.
Thanks, Julia. All right, so as you can probably hear, I'm Australian. So I live in the US now, and I moved over there, and one of the first things I had to do when I moved to the US was get a car, and was to also get car insurance. And so what I want to do today is take you through an experience that we have that really helps engage your customers with bots, and gives them an experience that allows them to get that insurance policy quickly and easily. Now, this is obviously insurance, but something that you can apply to your own businesses as well. So I have here my Litware car insurance website, and what I want to do is actually go and start a chat. And so I'm going to open up my live chat here. We can see my bots come in and ask how he can help me. And I'm going to mess with him a little bit. And I'm actually going to start talking to him in Spanish. I'm going to say, hola. And you'll notice, first of all, that this bot's actually smart enough to turn around and respond to me in Spanish, because that was the language I started in. And so really kind of an intelligent way of giving me an experience that is customized to me. Now I'm going to come back here and actually say, you know what, I need insurance. And correct that. And as I do that, the bot will course correct and actually give me an English experience as I go forward. Now you can see the bots ask me, what kind of insurance do I need and what am I looking for? Now, the beauty of this experience is that we can take advantage of multiple methods of input as well. So I don't have to type all my responses. I've actually got some options for different types of insurance I want. And I actually want to get automotive insurance. So I can simply click on the option I want, which gives me this great experience of the bot coming back to help me. So we can see I've been asked, am I an existing customer? And I'm going to say I am. And so now what we need to do is the bot now needs to talk to me and find out who I am and verify my details. So it's going to ask me what my name is, and I'm going to say my name is Ben Walters, and hit OK. And then what we need is a couple more pieces of information. So the first thing we're going to take here is a voice imprint. And so what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to click this microphone here and say, my voice is my passport, verify me. And you notice with voice recognition, we've now had that sent through as a message. And I've actually been asked to also provide facial recognition as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up the camera. I'm going to allow access, obviously, to the website and get a nice little selfie here. So bring that in, and we're going to verify my facial recognition as well, which then authenticates me as a customer of Litware. And you notice as I've done that, we've gone through, verified who I am. And this bot's actually looked at my history and my account with the organization and said, you know what, you also have a 16-year-old daughter. Do you want to include her on this policy? And I'm going to say, yes, I do. I want to make sure that this new car, if she totals it, that we're in a good place. And now I'm being asked, what type of car do I have? So simply, again, I'm going to say I've got a sedan. And what we need is a couple more pieces of information. So in this case, I've got myself a Ford Fusion. Hit enter on that. And then it's going to ask me for a photo, because it really wants to be able to assess what that car is and how that should be insured. So I'm going to say, yes, I've got a photo. And it's going to ask me to upload an image. Now, I'm going to mess with the bot again. I'm actually going to give it my dream car, which in this case is a Mustang. It's red, which means, as we all know, it goes faster. But the bot's kind of figured out the fact that this is probably not a sedan. This is not the type of car I said I was going to insure. And it's actually asked me to confirm, is this the right image? Is this the one I want to use? So I'm going to actually go and say, no, you caught me out. I'll give you the actual picture of the car that I have. So I'll go and click that again, upload the picture of my new car. And now what will happen is the bot will go through and start to look at that and assess and give me a price that I can use to be able to get my insurance claim. Now, it's come through and said that it's going to cost me $316 a month to insure this car, which for me is really expensive. So I'm going to come back to here, and again, just using natural language, I'm going to say, no, it's way too expensive. And so now what's happening is, with Azure Machine Learning, we're now doing sentiment analysis against that response. And you can see that the bot's actually figured out that it's kind of reached its end of where it can help, and has now connected me through to a live person who can then start to provide me with additional information and additional options for my policy to help make this worth my while. Now, if I switch over to that seller's view, I can now move into Dynamics 365. And this is what the real person at Litware Insurance sees. So we can see here is my account. We can see where I'm at in the sales process, and that sales opportunity has been put into Dynamics. Everything's been captured as part of that. I can also see the conversation that's been had with the bot. So as a seller, I know exactly what's happened, how that's transpired, and what's transcribed as part of that. We've also used machine learning to look at what potentially might help close that deal. So we can see, I can see that the opportunity's been escalated, but we've also got recommendations that potentially a 15% discount will actually help close this opportunity. And this is how we can take Azure Machine Learning and web applications and bring those together to create great experiences for our customers and also for our people working in our offices as well, and help secure more business and close that quicker and easier. So with that, back to Julia.
Thank you, Ben. All right. And what I like about that, you saw that's a very natural experience chatting back and forth, but those powerful APIs underneath, detecting sentiment, detecting there might be a churn happening, using facial and voice recognition to improve security and make it a better experience. And to me, that's the potential we have with these new AI services. And then again, in the back, powered by those machine learning models, to know that that wasn't a sedan, that's a different kind of car, so the user doesn't have a bad experience and get the wrong insurance quote. So it all happened very seamlessly from a user experience, and the power beneath it helping it actually be a higher quality and more secure experience on top of it. So from intelligence in that area to trusted. And this is so important as you think about the partnership as you move to the cloud is a different one, where you're really trusting us to work together and support you in your organization versus just be a vendor. And that's how we look at it from a partnership perspective. And when we set out on this journey of building our commercial cloud many years ago, over 10 now, we had 4 principles around security, privacy, compliance, and transparency. And we've been systematically working every area in that to make sure that we're leading the industry and continuing to do so. So as an example of that, Azure and the other Microsoft cloud assets as well have more certifications in market today than any other cloud vendor. It's a place we've been investing from the very beginning. And as an example, here in Australia, working with the government around IRAP approach, and we now have over 40 services in Azure on the certified services list. So you make sure you can take advantage of those in a way that makes sense in your geography, but also across the globe too. Again, continuing to invest here, and this won't stop, and this list will continue to grow. The other area around trust is around availability and reliability and making sure you have capability and capacity and support where you need it. And we've taken a very different approach at Azure than any other vendor by actually having an incredibly distributed data center. So we have regions across the globe, 42 in total, more than twice as much as both of our big hyperscale competitors combined. So a very different approach, and we took this because at the core, we know that enterprise companies need and want access to data in certain regions. They want to have controls around data handling, and also, frankly, run your application where your customers are or where your employees are located. So you have that control around the globe in that area. And you'll notice, actually, there's only 2 countries that have more than 2 regions, which one is the US and one's Australia, right here. Because we've seen such high demand for cloud here in Australia. Thanks for the incredible yourselves in the audience around taking advantage of the cloud. And that's why we actually have 4 regions right here locally. Now, each one of those dots looks small. It's not small, trust me. It's multiple data centers within each region. And I actually wanted to show a short video that just gives you a sense, because you can't all come to the data center, but we do data center tours, and I encourage you to do one if you can. But just give you a sense of what does it look like, and what do these little dots that are not small at all look like in the real world. So why don't we roll the data center video, give you a sense of that. is obviously a huge investment for the organization, and we're continuing to evaluate additional markets and increase our capacity across the globe. So you can have confidence in as you build out and scale out that we're there for you from a cloud perspective. Now, from capacity and availability into security. Maybe the topic I get most asked about, if it's not hybrid or AI, it's certainly around security. And this is the thing where we can just do it differently with the cloud and build more and more of the security that you need into the service. Because we know, I attend all the security conferences around the globe, and the number one topic I hear is around security talent and being able to find and keep security experts in your organization to be able to keep up with what are now nation-state attacks. These aren't just, people in their basement trying to hack you. These are well-funded organizations and professionals at what they do. And so what we do across Microsoft is not just of Azure, but we take our security expertise, 3,500 security engineers working day in, day out on cloud security, and bring them together to build holistically for the cloud. So all of our cloud services, including Azure, get that capability. We are investing $1 billion each year in security technology for our cloud services. That investment's going up, not down. That's how serious we take that. And part of that is just building it into the cloud. So now within Azure, you have the Azure Security Center that looks at what your entire environment, and now and on-premises as well, stretching into hybrid, and says, here's the recommendations to run your environment in a more secure way. Here's the threats that you need to go understand right now, and then give you that playbook to do it. Because we know that, frankly, the nation-state attacks and the security risks we're facing far outstrip what almost any organization in the world can keep up with. So we believe Microsoft, our cloud, is the first responder in security, and we need to build that technology for you so you're powered with that and you don't have to worry about it in the same way you used to. So I want to show you what that looks like. I'm going to have Ben come out and kind of do his final demo and showing what the Azure Security Center looks like and how it works and what the power you have now at your fingertips when you move to the cloud. Because, a few years ago, I talked to CIOs and others and say, I can't go to the cloud because of security. That's fundamentally changed. I can't think of a conversation now that isn't, I have to go to the cloud to improve my security posture. And this is just one example how. So go ahead, Ben.
Thank you. Okay. So what we're going to do now is show you how with Azure Security Center, you can protect yourself in kind of two of the key states. You want to know, how do I secure my infrastructure? How do I actually do that before I get attacked? And how do I respond after someone has had an attack or a successful intrusion into my environment? So you see here, I have the Azure portal, and I'm going to go into the Azure Security Center here. And you can see this is actually a view across my Azure portal of all of my processes and all my servers and everything that's going on. And what I want to do, first of all, is I want to look at how do I secure my devices and what are my machines out there that are actually secured already. And so if I click on my compute experience, you can see that I've got a list of all the recommendations on things that I can do to my servers to help harden them from a security perspective. I've got rules running against all of these machines that help me see exactly what's secure and what's not. I can see areas where I've got 16 of my 57 VMs don't have endpoint protection, or they have endpoint protection issues. And you can see I've got things like missing scan data, things that are missing system updates, so obviously, not having the most up-to-date system patches and those kind of things, or machines that are, waiting for restarts to happen. I can also drill into things like OS vulnerabilities. So here I can see a list of all my machines, and I can see, based on rules, which ones need to have things like maybe they need to have remote desktop services shut down, or just-in-time access enabled, so that I'm ensuring that ports aren't left open and things aren't left available for hackers and attackers to be able to get into my environment. Now, this is the way I can proactively secure and lock down my environment and know exactly what's happening. But as people become more and more adept at being able to break into systems, we want to know how we can respond to that quickly and effectively as well. So if I come over here and return back to that same dashboard, you'll notice down here I have my security alerts and detections that's happening across my environment. And I can actually click into this, and you can see, I can see all of the things that are happening across my environment, attacks that are being made and attempts that are being made to get into my environment. And you can see that here I actually have a security incident. Now, a security incident is actually a culmination of multiple different attacks that are happening across across an environment or across a server. And I can actually drill into this security incident and start to see what's actually correlated together to make that an actual security incident. We can see that someone actually successfully made an RDP brute force attack against one of my servers. They've started to execute some strange things. They've also started to query information on domain accounts. So let's investigate into this a little bit further. So by clicking the Continue Investigation button, I can now get a layout of that attack and what's happened over time. You can see how the investigation path has progressed, and I can actually go ahead and start to click into that investigation path as well and see exactly what's happened and where my attack has gone in my environment. So we can see they actually hit the Contoso web server. And I can see that as part of that, it was actually using Abby Becker's account that they've used to go and get into that environment. And so all the while, I'm drilling down to know exactly what happened as part of that. We can see that that person used Abby Becker's account to also access another web server and started executing some strange processes as part of that. And all the while, I'm getting additional information over here on the right-hand side to help understand what's actually going on that server. Now, of course, once I have tracked down a potential breach or someone who successfully got into my system, I want to know how I respond to that. What do I do to effectively start to roll back that access and do the right things in the business? And so for that, we have a number of playbooks set up that you can then start to go into and see, based on that alert, what are the recommended actions to take to be able to actually respond to that alert and actually shut that access down and notify the correct people as well. And from here, I can run those playbooks and effectively start to respond to that incident quickly and effectively. So great ways to be able to proactively secure your environment and also proactively react when someone comes into your environment as well. So with that, back to you, Julia.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah. Someone's been doing security for 15 years. I love seeing this kind of capability, and that in general, we want the entire industry to be more secure, and these kind of capabilities help get all of us there together. All right, so from there into the last area around trust. So something I've heard a lot from customers over the past year around, I'm moving to the cloud, it's great, but I need to get visibility into what this means. And it can be a place where if you're just moving into infrastructure and running VMs, it's actually easy to get to a very expensive place with sprawl because, gosh, it's so easy to spin up new VMs. And so what we've done is actually acquired the leader in cloud cost management. Now we've just integrated it right into Azure. So now you have Azure Cost Management. It looks at your entire environment, lets you see what VMs are under or overutilized, adjust from that, plan accordingly, and you can slice and dice and see what your dev environment versus your prod environment looks like and allocate out those costs to different departments as well, all just right built in. So now that's just kind of a new feature of Azure, and you can see us continue to do that as we move forward, acquiring new things and building new things and then bringing them into the environment as well. And then the last area where we brought out new capability, actually right on the cusp of general availability, is our reserved instances. And this allows you to basically pre-buy at a very deep discount compute capacity. So you can say, I'm going to run this system. I know I'm going to need this capability. I want to buy it at a discounted rate and have very significant cost savings for either a 1 or 3 year term. So something you're seeing coming to Azure as we speak. So kind of new different ways to both purchase as well as get cost controls over the cloud. So bringing it back home in terms of, again, hopefully this gave you a sense of both what cloud technology we have, but also how we're delivering it, which to me is the really important part. I don't think that the cloud feature war, that's not the relevant conversation anymore, but it's about what you can do with it and how successful you can be with it. So to make that a little bit more real and bring it home here to Australia is, actually I'd like to invite up Dion from Cabcharge, is a local customer we've been working with, about what they've done when they're transitioning and using the cloud in Azure and being successful with it. So thanks so much, Dion.
No worries.
Welcome on up.
Thank you.
All right, so first of all, tell me, about yourself and how did you end up as the CTO of Cabcharge?
All right, my name's Dion Ludik. I'm a techo from heart. I think I saw code the first time I was 13. That's a long time ago in a Commodore 64, and knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I think I love technology the best when, when we do it really well, it looks magical. People that don't understand it think there's something suspicious almost.
Yep.
With that, I've been doing my first coding job when I was 19 and just 23 years later in the industry, loved it. Some highlights, I was the first head of mobile for Westpac in those early days. Got to do a big workplace program at Woolworths, impacting a lot of people. And got to work at Macquarie as a director for digital delivery. And then I got the opportunity to work with Cabcharge.
Yeah.
The reason for the role is I was looking for something that the conversation is not about, is digital disruption real? And I think, being probably competing against the most known digital disruptor, that conversation doesn't happen with us. It's what do we do and how do we respond, which is the exciting part of the job.
Yeah, no question that the industry you're sitting in is full of disruption and happening across the globe. So pretty hot space to be in on that front. Now, before you made the decision to use Azure for your business and to kind of power that transformation, you looked at, I understand, 16 different platform service options. So tell me about that and kind of what got you to Azure.
Yeah, look, we were looking for anything, the specific problem we were trying to solve was a platform as a service problem.
Yeah.
We want to write code, we want to create features for us to compete in this space. You need to build features that differentiate yourself. So we want to spend our energy and focus on features. So with that, a platform as a service was for us the least amount of effort we could get to deploy features so that we can showcase that. That's why we looked at anybody that had any offering that could help us host seamlessly our solutions. That quickly went down to 3 and then 2, and then we ended up choosing Microsoft for all the features that came in the Azure platform, as well as we felt that advantage of incumbency. Every organization have .NET skills. It's really easy to transition that skill set than if you'd have to adopt some of the new ones out in the market.
Got it. You know, and I think that's an increasing trend I certainly see of, I think there used to be like, hey, I'm just going to move to infrastructure and because it seems more familiar, but then more of the business drivers of transformation are like, no, I want to be efficient. I need to be competitive and my energy needs to be spent on innovation and capabilities like you, and it causes a different conversation and technology evaluation, which I think is good and helpful for businesses. All right, so you're certainly in a very dynamic and competitive space. So when you look at your technology platform, what kind of services and capabilities are essential for you to be able to compete?
Oh, look, this is probably the heart of our strategy and what we're trying to do. Yeah. So we set up 15 months ago. First, choose the right technology platform and make sure we've got ourselves future-proof. That was our Microsoft decision. Yeah. We also had to insource digital development. I think a lot of companies have lost that capability. Right. So we needed to hire new roles and product owners. We hired our first user experience experts, starting to get research and actually learning how to get that data and build features based on what our customers and the data that we see tells us. We've now got in that journey. We've got 7 agile teams, and we're starting to firm up our narrative on what makes us different and how can we showcase that. So, for example, we feel the industry, the tax industry, has a lot of choice, but it hasn't digitized it well. Yes. And then the digital disruptors came and actually made one part of that product really slick, which is the booking. But I think most people living in a busy city would use a taxi by hailing it. There's no digital experience in that hail, and you can't convert that into a digital experience. Yeah. We want to start showcasing that choice you have, but keep it simple for our customers. So now with our agile team and our platform and all the insights we were in our showcase yesterday, and in the next 2 sprints, we will be introducing a feature where you hail a taxi and then convert that into a digital transaction if you want to pay with a card you've loaded in the app. Cool. We're also soon going to have an app. If you download it, we're not going to make you create an account and add banking details. We want you just to get to what you need, which is a trip. So those kind of things that we now, with the data we're seeing and the industry we're in, we can differentiate.
Fantastic. Now, a couple of things you said I want to highlight because it's something I hear from lots of customers and it can be lost sometimes. One of, there's definitely this trend of, hey, as we move to the cloud, we actually need to, stop doing some things we were doing and bring back in-house things that we had outsourced and bring some of those skills in, which I think is an important thing to think about as people are evaluating their own journey. And then the other one is moving to that more agile model, not just taking the exactly same approach that you were doing and doing it in the cloud, but actually kind of take advantage of the change that comes with that to get the agility. So. Something you've obviously done very well, but it's important and sometimes can be lost in that kind of transition. All right, so I'll admit I'm a little bit of a Back to the Future fan. And as I was reading your story, which is fantastic, you have created, I understand, the flux capacitor. So I had to ask about it. What exactly is this thing?
I couldn't resist it myself. I love sci-fi. It's probably the other thing that's close to technology anyway. And we had opportunity last year, September, to connect our cars. We have meters in the cars that is connected to the internet for payments, but we had an opportunity to connect that to the IoT hub to get a lot more insights into what's happening in the car and also control it. We felt that was so innovative and new that we decided to call that flux capacitor for us and kind of symbolize our change to where we want to go. It has become part of our vernacular, and it is actually funny when we sit in some leadership meetings, everybody referring to that, and we got it quoted in the press recently, which was a goal. And the other one we quoted is the fact with the flux capacitor, what it does, one of the main features we have now is we can tell a car from the internet to go into a more verbose mode and give us GPS data every second, and we call that beast mode. That was the other goal, to get that quoted in press as well. So we've got flux capacitor and beast mode quoted.
Fantastic. Good. Check. All right. Now, we certainly know that the idea of moving to agile development can mean different things to different people, but it's certainly, I think, as we talked about, just core to that. So how does it work, and what does it look like at Cabcharge?
Yeah, that's one of those digital transformation words that means so much. For us, what we've created is 7 autonomous teams that can control what they do and how they do that. Okay. So These teams have very specific problems they're trying to solve, and then they can go about solving it their own way. We don't tell them what language they code in, the data they use, how they go about that. What we do demand is highest skill sets in engineering, so test-driven development, code coverage. We want to create continuous integration pipelines and monitoring. So all of those are the definition of a done. Before you can say you've completed your code, you need to have met that standards. And the other thing that's really what we like about Agile is Agile Scrum in the fact that every 2 weeks you have to learn and then improve. So a lot of the developers, most engineers want to get better. They want to get some time to invest in making the software better and write one asset well. So we do that. And then the other big thing on Agile as well, we're trying to build stuff just what we need. Don't try and make it too complicated. We find we get ourselves stuck a lot in making really complicated products for in case somebody else wants to use it. So a very strong principle of you build what you need right now, and then we'll mature when you need that feature later.
The minimally viable product.
Right
People
now,
have different terms for that. But yeah, I think that's an essence. And certainly something Microsoft has moved to as well. Now, what you did sounds easy when you talk about it, but we know that the culture change that makes this actually possible is pretty significant. So just curious what you did from a kind of a culture perspective and moving to where you are now.
Yeah, look, that was what we found. I mean, especially the technologists, we found actually really deep knowledge in payments. We do payments for some of the largest retailers and banks in Australia. We write pin pad software, and obviously in our cabs. But what we haven't managed to achieve was to become a modern development company. Building like this test-driven development culture and stuff. So what we did is we went through a phase where we say, well, you don't know what you don't know. So we'll get some consultants in to work next to you to show you what you don't know. And then you become quite aware of you do know what you don't know. And then with the agile processes, you can then learn, every 2 weeks, what don't we know, what are we learning, what do we want to get better, and make sure that there's good outcomes that the people can focus on and find their own way of getting through that, through the cultural journey. Most of the consultants have transitioned out now again, and we have in-source teams that have great digital capabilities.
Oh, that's great. So actually kind of using some outside help to kind of push a little bit and then bring it from there.
Show the example. Yeah, you learn easier when you can see the example than trying to figure it out yourself.
Absolutely. And I heard also too, something that's been true of Microsoft in our transformation of trying to be growth mindset. And the idea of we want to be the learn-it-all culture versus the know-it-all culture, which is a nice pithy way, but it really makes a difference in how you think about leaning into that growth. So, all right. So, final words of wisdom. People out in the audience thinking about this, having been somewhere on that journey. So, what would you say in terms of thinking about as they go forth?
Yeah, the thing I find, I've been quoted a couple of times, where do you think this is going to go? What's the future? And I think just the thing even if you see where you guys have done in the year, it moves so fast. It's actually hard to predict what's going to come next. What I can only think of is I want to make sure that we know what our focus is. And so I keep calling it, you need to know what's commoditized from your perspective. And make sure you've got a partner for that and worry about the things that's not commoditized and what make you different. So we think about our Azure journey and what we get from the cloud. We'll get the heavy lifting from Microsoft, and we will then get the time to focus on what makes us different. And I think that's important, that clarity.
Focus your limited resources. Everyone, us and you all have limited resources on what is your biggest differentiation in the core to your business. So great idea. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. Now, Cabcharge is one of many, many customers we have across the globe, and I'm so honored that over 90% of Fortune 500 companies have chosen to run their business on the Microsoft cloud, both here in Australia and some of the local companies that we've been able to showcase this week, but also across the globe in that area. So with that, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your partnership. Thanks for your business, and enjoy the rest of the event.